Welcome to the Armani Talks YouTube channel. I'm your host, Armani Talks. In this channel, I'm covering communication skills in order to help you level up your way with words and become much more articulate. In today's episode, we're going to be talking about how to read more books. But before we talk about that, we have to first understand why we should read more. If you're from a hard skills field, I'm sure you've heard of the following acronym. STEM. STEM, which means science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. Now, if you're someone who is trying to improve your communication skills, the acronym that you need to understand, which isn't as catchy, is RLSW. Reading, listening, speaking, writing. The first two letters of the acronym are how we input information. We read and we listen. The next two letters from the acronym are how we output information. We speak and we write. I want you to know something. Anyone that you consider a brilliant writer or a brilliant speaker, they read a lot. There's a big difference between reading and watching. Whenever you're watching something, what's happening is that there's the imagery which is already presented for you. So that's what I call passive consumption. But when you read something, you are forcing your brain to turn those tiny little words into ideas, concepts, and imagery. Nothing against watching, by the way, because you're watching me right now. But reading has a role in terms of the world that we live in. So we got to understand the value of reading if we want to communicate better. But the most important thing that we need to understand is that the more that we read, the more that we value our signal over the noise. Because great communicators, they understand that the signal is the meaningful message, while the noise is the junk. You ever met someone who rambles a lot? And you're like, why can't you just get to the point already? It's because from this person's worldview, they cannot distinguish signal from noise. This is another thing that reading allows us to improve. Now, with all that being said, I want to use some fear right now, because I'm sure you know a lot of the things that I've already told you thus far. Reading is good for me, Armani. Okay, whatever. This is where we need fear. Intellectually, I always knew that reading was good for me, but I didn't take it seriously until one time I saw this one video of this guy who was talking to a bunch of people, and somewhere in that video, he was like, if you don't read and write routinely, you will get Alzheimer's. The way he said it, like the conviction in his eyes and the way that everyone was nodding and they're like sitting alert at this point, I still remember. And that was that moment when I knew that I needed to read more. Do I know if this is a scientific truth or not, that if you don't read and you write, you increase the likelihood of you getting Alzheimer's? I don't know that. Nor do I care. From my reality, this is real. Therefore, I read and write every single day in order to take care of my memory. So now you understand through a pleasurable way why you should read, so we could improve the signal and reduce the noise. And you understand through a painful way why you should read more. Whether you believe in the narrative or not is besides the point. Just view it to be real, and that fear is going to complete a loop. That loop is in your internal world that is going to allow you to increase the likelihood of reading more books. Now the question is, how should we read? Should I pick up an encyclopedia? Should I pick up a textbook? Should I pick up a fiction book? What should I do? This is what we don't want to do. We don't want to pick up reading something that's going to feel like work. So whatever you consider work, avoid that for the time being. Find something that you consider play. And for me personally, if you were to tell me, Armani, you got to read a book even though you haven't read one from beginning to end for 7 years, what are you going to choose? I'm not going to sit right here and introspect on right now. I'm going to go to my past, because younger us used to read. What did the younger version of you read? For me, it was Harry Potter. So I will choose Harry Potter and I will get back into the groove with this particular book. So whatever you choose, allow it to be something that allows you to feel like you're having fun. You could focus on the productivity later. The main thing that we're trying to prime our mind, body, intellect to do is to read. Now from there, how often should you read? That's something that's completely up to us. My goal is to try to finish a book a week. For other people, it may be a book every 2 weeks. For other people, it may be a book a month or every 2 months. But at least try to get through one a year. And once you get through one, you're going to be like, man, I could do one of these a month. And eventually you may say, I could get through one of these a week. And if you're curious about how to read a book a week, I actually made a pretty in-detailed video that I will link right on here in the description box, or you could just type in book a week, Armani space talks. And the summary of that video is you get the book, you divide it into 5 parts, you give yourself the weekdays to finish it. And if you don't finish it in the weekdays, you have the weekends as the buffer period. So thus far, you understand the reason why great communicators read. You understand the painful narrative of not reading. You understand how to get back into reading by finding something that is pleasurable for you. Now, I would be remiss if I didn't factor in a growing adult's time. Because as a person is maturing, they're finding themselves to have less and less time. Maybe they're starting a family. Maybe they're getting a business off the ground. Maybe they're busy at work, something. So in this scenario, let's say you're someone who's running low on time, you could get warmed up with short stories. And if you're looking for some short stories, all the 4 books right on here, Wordplay, Street Smarts, Limit Breaker, and Tough Love, are all short stories that are 1,000 words or less, mainly in the 800 word region, that allows you to practice reading while saving your time. And another thing that you can do is learn the art of speed reading. You'll see that a lot of people have this negative conception towards speed reading. They'll say, oh, well, I do that, but I actually want to understand what I read. Who said that you can't understand and read quicker as well? You just got to set that as the intention. It's sort of like the progressive overload for the mind. If you're someone who goes to the gym, you don't lift the same weights all the freaking time. You go and you progressively lift more and more over time in a way that you can manage. And likewise, with speed reading, set the intention that you are going to read in a way where you can digest the information, but you're not going to sit on your butt focusing on too many words. That is how you read with the ego. You're like, let me make sure I get every single word understood so I increase my comprehension. You actually lose your comprehension that way when you focus too much on each word. So set the intention that you're going to get through a certain amount of pages and you're going to get through it in an efficient manner. To help you with this, have a general understanding of what the book is already about. It will help if you read the summary. It will help if you read some reviews on the book. It will help if you at least read the back of the book. You can do that. And if you want more of an in-depth breakdown into the art of speed reading, I have a class on Skillshare that will teach you the art and science of it. I think it's only 15 minutes long, so it's not drawn out or complex. It's right to the point. You will see it in the description box and in the pinned comment right on below. And if you're watching from TV, just log in from your cell phone or your laptop and access the class from the following link. in the description box and the pinned comment. Other than that, enjoy your reading journey and become a more articulate, clarified speaker. Thank you very much for joining the Armani Talks YouTube channel, and I will catch you on the next episode.